Hi, Tim. I'm so happy to see you and finally get to meet you a little better, kind of person to person. And I really appreciate you being with the Bold Life today.
Well, thanks very much for inviting me. Likewise, we've crossed paths on numerous occasions, but never actually spoken. Normally, when I'm being a bit obstreperous with my blog comments and things like that. But
I can remember first seeing you on your blog all the way back to when you did that video of the juicer.
the juicer.
Didn't you do a video of a juicer on your blog?
It's possible. I honestly can't remember. I mean, I've been blogging just about 6 years now.
Okay.
And 1,000 posts, and people often ask me about stuff, and I'm like, oh, I've no idea. Probably.
6 years. Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it isn't. Yeah, it makes me old. Well, I'm old anyway.
Well, join the party. I'll bet I'm older than you are.
Let's not go down that route. I hit
Okay, so why don't you tell us a story about when you were afraid and how you worked through it?
Okay. Actually, do you mind if I tell you two and I'll make them quick?
Oh, no, the floor is yours.
Right, okay, fantastic, thank you. Well, as I just sort of alluded to, it was my 50th birthday 2 weeks ago. And I've always wanted to do a parachute jump. So basically what I did was I wrote a blog post about a year ago saying to my blog readers I'd do a parachute jump before I was 50. So that kind of put me up against the wall. Now I planned to do it in February when my sister came over from the UK. But for one reason or another, not least of which problems with my back, and it was going to be a lot more money than we thought, and she wasn't sure if she could afford it. We ended up not doing it. So it's the night before my birthday, and I've been stressing about this, saying I promised I'd do it. And suddenly my wife, I said, "Look, I'm tired, I'm going to go to bed." And she said, "Well, here's your birthday present." I said, "Well, don't give it me now. Give it me tomorrow." She says, "No, you need to have it now." So I opened this up, and I was half expecting a parachute jump, and I was thinking, okay, well, I've not done it by my birthday, but we'll go in November or December when Florida, it's beautiful, so you get no chance of rain. You're not going to have thunderstorms rolling through that might disrupt it. So I'm thinking this as I'm looking at this. I said, "Yeah, that's great, thanks very much." I said, "You could have given me tomorrow then." She says, "No, we jump in tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning."
What a fantastic present.
Yeah, so it was a fait accompli, really. So even though I didn't get much sleep that night, and the drive, actually jumping out, I wasn't at all nervous, but I was nervous on the plane ride up and the drive over to the coast, to the Kennedy Space Center where we did it. But that's one example of using other people. So my wife knew that I wanted to do it by my birthday. I knew I wanted to do it, and I've made this promise, so she sort of went out of her way. But another one is I used to get quite a few invites to do public speaking. Not quite a few. I probably get one every 6 weeks or so, something like that. And my first reaction was to look for reasons why I didn't want to do it or couldn't do it. Now, sometimes those were justified, but other times they weren't. It was really just fear of doing public speaking, even though I would still do the other job. My initial response was to say, I'm not sure if I can do that. And I turned down 2 or 3 good speaking opportunities for that. So I made a decision with myself probably about 2 years ago now. If I ever get a phone call from somebody to do an interview or anything like that, I say yes without even thinking about it. Then I figure out if I can do it. So, for instance, I did an interview on Fox News a couple of days after my birthday, so about 2 weeks ago. And when they phoned me up, I could have stopped. And I've done a couple of TV interviews before as well, but I could have thought, well, you know what, I've got to be up early. I'm going to feel really I'm definitely going to be nervous about it. But then it's like, well, nobody ever dies from being nervous. I suppose there are exceptions. I actually once said to a group of people, nobody dies from public speaking. And somebody put their hand up and said, what about Martin Luther King? That was a bit unfair. But by and large, rather, nobody dies from doing any of this stuff. So for me, dealing with fear is about saying yes and thinking about it afterwards of ways, once I've committed, because I'm very reluctant to break my commitments. I really don't. I don't mind letting myself down, but I hate letting other people down.
Right. That's an excellent story. I love that, about saying yes and worry about it afterwards.
Yeah.
After you make the commitment.
Yeah, that's it, because there's no way out of it then.
What about your own fear? Like, you want to do something, but you're afraid to do it?
I'm not sure if I've got any of that because I've pushed and pushed over the last sort of few years, Tess, that I cannot think of a single thing I've not done because I'm scared to do it. I can think of things I've not done because I can't afford to do it, or I haven't got the time to do it, or so on and so forth. But really, the parachute jump was the ultimate for me, for that. So
Did you get a video of that?
Yes.
And did you put it on your blog?
I put a link to it on my blog. I didn't really want to just go all self-indulgent and make it all about me because most people.
Why not? It's your 50th birthday.
Well, I did do it. I mean, I did do a post about that. 50 things I'm grateful for at being 50.
Okay, I have to go back and read it because I missed it.
Right. Okay. Yes, you should. And you should tweet it and social media it to everybody. Make it your life's work. So yeah. So that was sort of something. And so I'm sure there are things, Tess, but nothing's jumping to mind that I wouldn't do. You know, if you just said, would you go and do the final speech at the Olympic closing ceremony? that may have had me a tad on edge. I think that would have been time for a call into the doctor to get some Valium or some equivalent. Other than that, you know, and I think it's getting into the habit of pushing all the time. So constantly, the more you do something, you know, we know this, the more somebody expands the comfort zone, it becomes bigger and the edges come further and further.
Yeah. So other than those two experiences, what's the bravest thing you've ever done?
It's actually I'm not. It's a brave thing that I'm not actually proud of, really, because it was in my 20s when I probably had too much to drink and it got into a little sort of brouhaha with some other guys that were from out of town, and I knew there was way more of them than there was of us, and I went up to the two friends I was with. I said, "Look, you two go now. I'll deal with these lot." At the time, I used to box. I was, even though I knew I was going to get a good hiding. And I didn't really expect them to say yes, but they did and ran off and left me. Fortunately, nothing came of it, you know. But it was, at the time, I felt, when nothing did come of it, when I got out okay, I was thinking, that was pretty stupid.
It might have been, but that's an excellent story to the worst didn't happen.
Yeah, correct. And it seldom does when we get fearful. I mean, I still get nervous about doing public speaking. You know, I still get nervous about certain types of interview as well, which is one of the reasons, you know, if I ever get asked to do an interview and the person says, I'm going to send you the questions, I always say, don't want to see them. I don't want to see the questions. I know what I know. If I start trying to rehearse it, I'll screw it up and I'll sound stilted and, you know, and scripted and all the things that I don't want to sound. So when I do YouTube blogs, you know, I never do a script or any outline. I just start talking and shut up when I finish.
And I can't agree with you more. Anytime I try and script, I mess it up because I forget or something. And then once you have it memorized, and you forget, what are you going to do? Precisely.
You start thinking then, oh, you know, are they going to notice? I can remember one time giving a presentation at the Ritz-Carlton and I got 2 slides the wrong way around. And it threw me for a little while till I realised nobody noticed.
Yeah, and you know, that's another thing about public speaking is they say if you make a mistake, act like you didn't notice it because they don't.
Yeah.
That really helped me. And I also think even the best speakers still get nervous. So I don't think it's a good thing when a speaker doesn't get nervous anymore.
I agree. I think
they're just regurgitating the same old stuff, or they're full of themselves. And I think either one of those makes for a good speech.
Yeah, I agree. So, you know, so I think with fear is I still get fearful. It's just the difference now is I don't succumb to it as much as I would have done 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I used to get nervous going into certain types of sales. I worked in sales for 20 years, but there would still be certain types of meetings that I would get nervous going into. So, but, you know, it's just a question. You've got to do it.
Yeah.
Like I said, you don't die of nerves. And we're having a typical Floridian storm, midsummer storm here. So if if you hear a lot of banging and dogs barking, it's thunder and dogs barking. No.
I don't hear a thing, but how long have you lived in Florida?
6.5 years. We've been here.
Okay, so you started your blog once you moved there.
Yeah, pretty much. About five or 6 months after. Started September 2006, and we moved here February 2006. So I got my website up and running, and then moved into blogging just for SEO purposes originally. But now it's obviously a lot more than just SEO. It's fun. It helps me interact with people. It keeps me on my toes when I'm writing, because there's always somebody waiting to tell you you're wrong on something. I am that person as well that will tell somebody if you get something wrong. So, it's good fun. I enjoy it.
So,
But do you know something? So weirdly enough, Tess, and you'll know people that get nervous when they post blogs. I never get any nerves on posting a blog. No, and sometimes I post them and forget even I've posted them, and then I have to remember to go back and look at comments, So that's kind of weird, because my writing style is very unusual. I write stream of consciousness all the time. So, you'd think I'd be a bit nervous about people ripping my incorrect use of grammar and butchering the Queen's English, which I do on a regular basis.
Well, your readers are very kind. I got yelled at by one about a week ago. What can I say? You just got to move on.
Yeah. If you've never been yelled at, Tess, you're not pushing the boundaries.
I probably need to push a little more.
Right. Yeah, I've had that. I've had abusive emails. I once wrote a post and I said that I thought I looked a cross between Zeus and Brad Pitt. And this woman sent me this email saying how arrogant you are to think that you look like Brad Pitt or you got the body of Zeus. And I just emailed her back. I said, "Do you not think I've got a mirror in my house?" So,
We have to have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've definitely got to. Yeah.
So why don't we end with and you've already said probably 3, but tie it all up with 3 actionable steps that readers and listeners can take when they're afraid.
All right. You should have emailed me the questions, Tess, because now I've got to think about this one. Okay, so three steps you can do. The first thing is the commitment. Is making a commitment. If you're not good at committing to yourself, like I'm not, I'll say I'll do that, and I just can't be bothered if I'm only committing myself. But once I make a promise to somebody else, so that's very much an individual thing. It's very much whether, some people are great at committing to themselves. If that's you, then commit to yourself, make the commitment. Because you can. Second thing is to realise the long-term implications. A lot of people are fearful about things because they've not thought it through. It's like, oh God, I've got to give a speech and this is going to happen. It's all, it's just like, I often will work with clients on nightmare scenarios. What's the nightmare scenario? What's the worst thing that can happen here? And usually it's no more than, well, I might be a bit embarrassed. Deal with it. Life's embarrassing. Trust me.
Really. Not live life to the fullest because you might be embarrassed.
Yeah, I mean that.
And when we play it out to the end, you get how silly our fears are.
Correct. And they are most fears, not all, obviously. And I think the third one will be utilize visualization in terms of your brain's very poor at distinguishing between what's happening and what is going to happen. And visualization is a little bit of a misnomer, because when I say visualization, I mean you want to use all your senses. So senses, what would you smell there? What would what would you be saying? And see yourself in the situation, but make sure you see yourself dealing with it well. Get your brain used to dealing with it well. Probably one of the greatest European golfers there ever was, Severiano Ballesteros. He died actually very tragically of a brain tumour about 2 years ago. When he won the US Masters, somebody said to him, it must be such an amazing thing walking up and putting the green jacket on. He said, well, not really. He said, because I've already seen it 1,000 times in my head before. So he'd gone through the process of visualising himself winning that tournament again and again and again, until it just became routine. He got into the situation, his brain goes, okay, I know what to do here. Let's get up and running.
Program yourself for success.
Yeah, too many people underestimate visualization. Yet if you'd watched the Olympics, 99% of those athletes would have been using visualization in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I love the Olympics. I just love that, seeing the people. Well, it's amazing what they do. It's just amazing what can happen when we commit to something.
And do you know the most amazing thing about the London Olympics is that the Brits didn't screw it all up. that we managed to get it right without, like, you know, oh, we've missed some events, or, you know, we forgot the closing ceremony or whatever, you know. So yeah, that would be what I'd say. There's other technical things you can do. Let me add one thing. If somebody wants to go and research it, you can use a process called anchoring, which is like building up conditioned reflexes, which can be really powerful as well. But that's 4 things, and you only asked me for 3, so
Well, that's a bonus.
Invoice you for the extra one.
And give us an example for those who don't know what anchoring is. Tell us. I love anchoring.
And anchor is a conditioned reflex, and you know about the expression in neurology that neurons that fire together wire together, which if you think of Pavlov's dog, rings the bell, dog salivates as he gets the meat, does it over and over again, suddenly there's no meat there, but the dog still salivates. It's because the neurons in the brain have wired together and associated one event from the other. So we all have loads of anchors that we carry around with us. So it may be, mainly they tend to be negative ones. So we hear a song and it takes us back to a time when we had bad news. That's an anchor. But you can form positive anchors intentionally, like pulling your earlobe while you're thinking about a positive event. It's a little bit more complicated than that. But you do it enough times, you enforce it. Eventually you can get an anchor for confidence. A lot of public speakers use anchoring for confidence. So maybe pulling an earlobe or just something that they think of as getting them in state is actually really an anchor. And it's this means that. So I am doing this, therefore I am going to feel like that.
Thanks. Well, thanks for joining us, and it's been great. It's been great talking to you, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks, Tess. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you too.
And happy birthday.
Thank you.
And I'm still older than you.
Yeah, well, we're both too old then, aren't we? Let's be honest.
As long as we keep having fun.
That's exactly it, yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right, cheers, Tess. Thanks very much.